Welcome to Nutrition Lunch and Learn with Sandra, your RDN, where every week I have the pleasure of dishing out your weekly dose of nutrition wellness news for your mind, your body, and your soul. And I hope that everybody's having a great week so far. I hope your day is going well. And for those who are tuning in live, I thank you for taking time out and tuning in. Hopefully, you're having some lunch. And for those who are listening to the replay, I thank you for tuning in as well. And so, we are wrapping up our July theme with managing a social life without the weight gain. And so we're going to talk about how to enjoy your summer events without overindulging, okay? And so, are you ever worried about eating too much when you attend summer parties or summer events or even going on vacations? And if so, your concern is valid. On average, American adults can gain 5 to 10 pounds a year, and most of that weight gain happens during the summer months. And so, why? Well, typically, we're not on a routine during the summertime. We're traveling more, we're on the go more, we're not as structured as we are when the fall is in or when the spring is in. So, but there's no need to give up your summer events or your summer traveling. You simply just need to have a plan to prevent eating too much or just a way to stay mindful of what you're doing while you're still enjoying yourself. And so today we're going to talk about 3 fast and easy tips to avoid overindulging at summer parties and what to do that works. And so for those who do not know me, my name is Sandra Goldtree, and I am a registered dietitian, licensed nutritionist, and your accountability partner. And I teach adults the tricks of the trade to break weight plateaus and to move forward towards building a healthier relationship with food and to effectively control food cravings. And it's really all about building habits that last for life. And so that's what we mean by lifestyle change. So it's a process, and every day you get better and you get better. And before you know it, it becomes second nature. And that's what it's all about. And so managing a social life without gaining weight. And so for as you are tuning in, please feel free to say hello. Give me a shout out. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If you have been traveling over this summer or if you're planning on a big trip, let me know where you're going. And is it a cruise? Are you flying? Is it a resort? So that'll be good to kind of hear what people are doing over the summer months. Okay. And so tune in. And then as we are going through this, I love engagement. So feel free to chime in, ask questions, post comments, anything. So I want this as engaging as much as possible. So the more that you engage with me, then I'm able to make this more personal for you all. And so, a social life and parties, barbecues, events, etc. Okay, they all go hand in hand, and it's realistic to think that you can have a life as well as wellness at the same time. So it is actually realistic. A lot of times people think you have to choose one or the other, but that's not necessarily the case. And so I like to say that yes, you can. And so the key is living on the days what you do on those days and those weeks leading up to that social event, okay? And then what are you doing after that social event, okay? So remember, the event is one day. Usually it's one meal, one occasion. So what we do leading up to the event, what we do after the event is really what has the biggest impact on our health, our wellness, and our weight. So something to think about, okay? We don't usually think about it that way. And so most of us, we're not hanging out every night or every weekend or doing things on a regular. But however, that's a whole different conversation. But it's really what we do leading up to that event and what we're doing after that event. All right. And so I always like to start off with my engagement question. So let's get a poll. Are you on the social scene regularly? So are you, whether that's work related, personal, social, just out and about on a regular, especially if it involves food, drinks, entertaining, fellowship. So if the answer is yes, state that, occasionally, or no. Okay. And as well as gatherings, whether it's family gatherings, just anything that involves fellowshipping with others, and it's usually involving, like I say, food or drinks. All righty, and so let's talk about tip number 1. All right, tip number 1, when to avoid overindulging at that summer event, okay? And planning ahead is number 1, planning ahead. And so have a plan before you get ready to go to that event or that party, and that will help you to control what you do and how much you eat and what you're going to eat. Okay. So you don't want to show up on an empty stomach. So you'll hear me say that a lot, especially if the event is later in the day. We have the best intentions when we want to save calories, and maybe we'll not eat breakfast and maybe we'll eat a little light lunch, but that actually ultimately leads us eating more. So we want to make sure that our body is fueled. So you don't want to show up on an empty stomach. You don't want to skip breakfast. You don't want to skip lunch, especially if it's a later event, and ensure that these meals are adequate. Okay, that's what's key. We want to make sure that these meals are covering our macros. So we want to make sure we have wholesome carbs and we have lean protein and we have heart healthy fat. So we don't want to just have vegetables, and we want to make sure that we are rounding it out, because therefore we're giving our body what it needs to avoid going to the event too hungry. And arrive with the right attitude. Okay, that's important too. So summer parties are more about spending time with family and friends, and put less emphasis on the food. Yes, the food is there, but actually make sure that we're really there more for the fellowship. And so let's keep that key, and that will help us to curtail, and we're not focusing so much on the food part of it. So, question, poll. So, which one describes you? Okay, when you are attending any kind of event or any kind of a party or anything like that, do you find yourself arriving on an empty stomach? If so, type empty stomach, or right attitude, where we need to shift more away from food. Maybe the focus on, okay, when I get there, what are they going to have? What am I going to see? So is shifting the attitude from food more so, and then and shifting it towards friends or family. So which one do you find yourself? So is it more that you're showing up empty, you're showing up focusing more on the food and less on the people? And so that's something to think about. And so I will look for those posts, and then we will comment on those as they are coming, or as they are rolling through. And again, feel free to chime in, post any aha moments, post any stories, any occasions, any situations. Okay. So tip number 2 in avoiding the overindulging at summer events, summer parties, and that is setting limits on alcohol. Okay, and so alcohol can increase our appetite, or it can and it can decrease your willpower. And so that is pretty, and that's pretty. Even with the fruity mixed drinks, it's probably loaded with empty calories that will curb your appetite, and it will also have you to really as much as have as many calories as much as eating some of the solid foods, okay, that are generally at these events. So a lot of times people think if it's non-alcoholic, maybe it has less calories, but not necessarily the case, because usually it's the chasers and things like that. There's what increases the calories in an alcoholic drink. So stick to lighter beverages, maybe a glass of wine or a mixed drink with club soda, basically something that's single, not necessarily where it's loaded up with the fruity drinks and we call it sugar sweetened beverages. So we want to limit those. And so we've talked a lot about the alcohol. So we want to make sure, because a lot of times people will end up drinking their calories and they don't realize it. And so those can add up just as quickly as the food. Okay, so ask yourself, or do you need to set limits when you are having your alcohol? So if you do, say you do. And in many cases, it's a lot of us. So and not necessarily even alcohol, even if it's the non-alcoholic beverages, because again, those can have just as many calories as well. Right. So post those, and then let's go to tip number 3. Tip number 3, where you are avoiding overindulging at summer parties. And so load up and give yourself permission. So what are we loading up on? That's the question. So you want to load up on the fruits and the veggies. So kind of scan what's available. They have more fiber, they have fewer calories, it'll help you feel full as well as satisfying. So you're not constantly snacking so much. So include that along with the other foods that you choose. So a lot of times we tend to leave off the veggies and we leave off the fruit, things like that. So we want to make sure we include those in the equation, not necessarily replace what the other food options are, but we want to include. And then don't deprive yourself completely. Okay, so allow yourself some treats. You want to allow yourself some treats. So choose carefully. Again, scan the room, see what's available, and think before you load the plate. Okay, so you want to walk around, kind of poll, kind of. One mistake that people make is when they attend the event, they go straight to buffet or straight to where the food is, and sometimes it's not all available. And then when you choose, and then all of a sudden more stuff comes out, and then it's like, oh, I want some of that too. So we want to make sure that, and so now we're kind of eating more because we want to have some of these other selections. So kind of, and this is where the fellowshipping kind of helps out to kind of redirect you and to kind of keep your mind off of the food so much. So give things a chance to show up and get set up, and then kind of scan and make sure you see what all your options are. And so save your calories for the foods that you really, really enjoy, as well as the foods that are really good. Okay, if it's just okay, then you might want to pass on that or not eat as much of it, especially if it's something that you can get anytime, any place, anywhere. So I like to save my choices for things that are kind of unique to that situation that I don't get on a regular basis. So those are some ways to kind of be selective in what you are choosing and what you're eating. All right. And so let's poll, ask a question here. So which one describes you? Okay. So when you're at events, do you need to veggie up? Do you need to have more veggies or even look for them and include them in on your plate? And do you need to give yourself permission? Okay, so intentionally say no to some indulgences for the sake of eating clean or because you're trying to lose weight. So sometimes that can backfire. So give yourself permission to enjoy some of those things that you like to have, and that you don't have on a regular basis. And so, but again, it's all about control. So you don't want to overdo it, but if you feel like you can't have it, then we tend to want to have more of it. So give yourself permission and know that it is okay to have those foods that you enjoy. Okay, because it's both. It's about food is about fun, and food is about nourishment. So we want to make sure we balance that out. All right. So the big takeaway here is, and again, post questions, post comments, anything that you have in addition to what we're talking about, or if there's an event you have coming up and you want to prepare, then definitely post your question or comment on there. So prolonging the moment. So the longer you linger before indulging in whatever's available, then the less likely you will eat too much or you'll overindulge. So again, that's why I say when you don't show up hungry, then that's not the first thing you do when you get there. So kind of wait it out, see what's available, kind of assess what other people are saying is good and not so good. And then that way you're kind of getting your best choices and making the most informed choices. Okay. And so that is one of the good things. And so think about it, if you eat first and then, like I say, you finish everything and everybody, and then it's tempting to go back for seconds. And so that's another thing you want to be careful about going back for seconds. And what you're going back for seconds for. So you might want to be leery of that. So that's another reason to not show up too hungry, because then, like I say, we eat fast, and then we tend to eat more. And then all of a sudden, when we realize it, we've kind of overeaten. Okay. And so again, you don't have to give up your favorite foods. And so you want to eat for fun, you want to eat for enjoyment, but also just make informed choices and make sure that it is really good for you and that you enjoy it. And that is what is key. Okay. And so just simply be mindful of what you're eating and what you're doing. Eat slow. That's a big one. Eat slow, enjoy the taste of the food, and fellowship more. Okay. And so, do you need help? A lot of times people need help with balancing it all. And so they're trying to figure out, how do I stay on track? How do I balance going to events? How do I balance travel? How do I balance just the summer months? How do I avoid coming out of the summer without having to lose a bunch of weight that I gained? And so, again, you want to plan ahead. You want to set limits, not just on alcohol, but also just on any beverage that is not water. You want to make sure that you have controls over that, and prolonging the moments. So that means not going straight to the buffet as soon as you arrive. Kind of assess the scene and then choose wisely. But yet you're still enjoying yourself. You're still having fun. You're still in getting things that you enjoy. So don't feel like you have to turn something down or not eat something that you really, really want because you're trying to lose weight. Okay, so don't have that impression because that'll backfire. So still enjoy. And one of the ways that you can kind of get an ideal, especially on what to eat leading up to the event. So a lot of times people are not sure what to eat or how much to eat leading up to the event, especially if it's later in the day. And so one way that you can kind of get an assessment of that is by downloading my free guide and meal plan. So it's a 5-day meal plan that has fast and easy to prepare recipes that contains step-by-step meal prep guide, as well as an itemized grocery list. So this is a good way to get some ideals on what to eat for breakfast, what to have for your snacks. And so you can actually follow the 5 day meal plan in its entirety, or you can pick and choose. You can pick and choose recipes that you want to try here and there, or maybe get some snack ideals that you never really thought about. And so this is a good way to kind of get a handle on what it means to really eat adequately and to eat balanced and to get as many nutrients as you can from food. And so this will be a good way to not show up to the event starving, because you kind of have an ideal of some things to eat. And so very easy. Here's the URL to click on, actionchoices.com/jumpstart. And you simply download it. And the meal prep guide is very helpful for those maybe not so savvy in the kitchen, or you may need some help with meal planning and meal prepping, so where you don't feel like you have to do the whole week in one day. So it can show you how to stagger your planning and prepping to where you're only doing maybe one thing during the week or each day versus having to do all meals and all stacks. So that's very, very helpful. And it will give you the opportunity to take advantage of what it means to grab and go. I believe in grabbing and going during the week, where you're just warming up things and you're not having to cook and prepare things every single night, especially when we have busy lives. So it makes it really difficult to do that. So this is a good way to get a handle on that and to start kind of exercising those muscles with how do you make that time to plan and prep, because a lot of times that's very daunting for people. So there is a way to make planning and prepping very easy. Okay. So again, post any questions, any comments, any feedback that you have. Definitely share this video with those that you feel it will be helpful to. So it's all about ironing, sharpening iron. So please share this with others. And this concludes what I have for this week's dose of nutrition and wellness news for your mind and your body and your soul. And I'm Sandra your RDN. And thank you for tuning in to today's Nutrition Lunch and Learn. And next week, believe it, we are in August. And so it's all about getting geared up for back to school, getting back on a routine, getting back on a structure, which takes a while for many of us to do when we've had about 2 months of just kind of being free. So we're going to talk about kind of reeling it back in, getting back on that routine. And so we're going to talk about fast food versus home cooked. So we're going to talk about the pros and the cons, and we're going to go beyond the basics. We're going to go beyond the obvious when we talk about the fast food versus home cooked. We know on the surface, yes, so it's better to cook at home, but we're going to go deeper than just that. So definitely tune in and have a great rest of your day. Thank you for tuning in, and be blessed.